Okay, it is now 6:34. I'm going to call this meeting of the Lawndale City Council to order. I'm going to ask the city clerk to conduct the roll call. Madam City Clerk.
Okay, good evening. Mayor Pro Tem Hoffman Gorman.
Here.
Councilmember Cuevas.
Present.
Councilmember Suarez.
Here.
Councilmember Kearney.
Here.
Mayor Poland Miles.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's have our flag salute is going to be conducted by Councilmember Pat Kearney. We're going to invite Pastor Jimmy Oriana from Calvary Chapel, South Bay, to lead us in a word of inspiration.
Place your right hand over your heart and repeat along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing.
Always an honor being here with you all today. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there's no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Our Heavenly Father, we come before you today and we want to pray for this city council meeting. Lord, I want to lift up every council member that is here today, from the mayor all the way around this room, everyone that is before me. Lord, you know they have specific tasks, things that they got to do, things that they have to accomplish. So Lord, I pray that you would bless them and that you would go before them. Give them health, protect them, give them vision to continue going forward for you in this season and the calling that you've given them for this time. Secondly, Lord, today I want to lift up any projects, any to-do list that they may have. And we want to ask, God, that you would help them to fulfill those tasks that they have before them. Lord, you know the desires of the heart, and I know that each of them have a desire to see the city of Lawndale prosper, to grow and to go forward. God, so help them. And thirdly, and finally, I want to lift up the people of the city of Lawndale. God, you know there's much going on in the world today. People are hurting. Lord, so we pray that you would allow this council, through you, to bring comfort and healing to people today. Allow the people of Lawndale to lock arms and do the best for their city. Once again, thank you for the opportunity that you've allowed us to come out today. We give the city council meeting to you. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor, for joining us once again. We appreciate you taking your time to bless us with the Word of God and His inspiration. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's have a quick, it's not on the calendar, but let's have a quick word of announcement real quick from the city clerk's office. It's like a public service announcement, right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Yvette Hall, Assistant City Clerk. With the election fast approaching, I would like to announce the following key election dates and reminders. As of October 6th, the vote by mail ballot mailing period began. Hopefully many of you received your vote by mail ballot by now. Monday, October 24th is the last day to register to vote online at lavote.gov. The city has a 24-hour secure ballot drop-off box located at Hogan Park, 16605 Osage Avenue, Lawndale. From now until 8 p.m., you can bring your vote by mail ballot and drop it in the box. It's very secure. Lastly, the city will be hosting a one-day mobile vote center on Tuesday, November 1st from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. that allows for in-person voting like a traditional vote center. The mobile vote center will be located in the courtyard in front of City Hall at 14717 Buren Avenue. For further information, you may visit the County Registrar's website at lavote.gov or visit the city's website at lawndale.city.org. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madam Assistant City Clerk, for those important announcement. Now we have a presentation. Let's hear from the hardest working senator, California. Let's hear from our good friend. He's been around for a long time for a day or two. A long time representing us in Sacramento. There's various levels of government, of course, before that, making sure our lights was kept on through California Southern Edison. Let's welcome the Honorable Senator Stephen Bradford. Clap? Okay. No, actually,
No, we don't have displays
I was waiting for you to
of
clap first.
celebration here in this chamber. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that introduction. And it's good to see both you and the council, and thank you for this opportunity to come before this council as something I've done for the last 12 years as a member of the California legislature, to provide a legislative update of the accomplishments, not only for me, but as a state as a whole over the last 9 months. As you all are all too familiar, our legislative year goes from January to September. Our last day of session was September 1, and from that point, the governor has 30 days to sign bills, and whether they're vetoed or not, they're signed. So sometimes folks say, I only had 3 bills signed, but if you count the ones that got vetoed, I'm 100%. But all that being said, we had a great year, and again, I commend the council for the work that you do on a regular basis. I mean, it's really where the work gets done on a local level. As you all know, I've spent 12 years on the Gardena City Council, so I have great admiration and respect for the work that is done on the local level day to day, because that's where the rubber meets the road. It's also an honor to represent the city of Lawndale in the state Senate. And this is probably the most diverse Senate district in the state of California. And each district is comprised of 1 million people. So, you know, we face our challenges. And I stand before you as Chair of Public Safety, a focus that has been one of my commitments since being in the legislature. And I also am honored to serve as Chair of the Legislative Black Caucus and also serve on the First in the Nation's Reparations Task Force that was established through legislation 2 years ago by our former Assemblyperson and now Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber, AB 3121, that creates a task force to study the harms and impacts of reparations here, slavery, and coming up with a comprehensive program to help address some of those wrongs that still exist today, sadly. Let me start by saying, as a member of the California legislature, we had a great year advocating for policies which will provide economic benefit to not only our state, but to our communities local and many of the families that make up the 35th Senate District. This year's state budget, again, was a $300 billion budget with a $37 billion reserve. In that budget was 9.5 for direct relief for the majority of Californians who should be receiving those checks in the mail, the rebate and tax refunds for gas and things of that nature. So that totals 9.5 billion. But not one person gets that. That's throughout the state of California. And so those checks have been going out over the last week. There's also $2 billion in support for small businesses and nonprofits throughout the state of California. There's also $200 million that's committed to women's reproductive rights, as we know what's happening not only here in across the nation as it relates to women's health care. So there's $200 million there. There's $9 billion of ongoing funding for our California schools, which is vitally important, and $47 billion for infrastructure, including transportation, school facilities, housing projects, libraries, and more infrastructure and safety, such as dams and things of that nature. And understanding that by building better housing, I should say, to create stronger communities, California will spend $2 billion in affordable housing, and again, another $2 billion for student housing, because we know our college students are challenged for housing throughout the state of California. And I was excited about the new housing facility that was just completed at Cal State Dominguez Hills, but that's far from enough that's needed to make sure that our students are adequately housed, because as we all know, there are students sleeping in their cars right now in parking lots on these college campuses. And also, it was a $1 billion retention stipend for our healthcare workers. As we saw during the pandemic, many of those folks left that industry because of just the overburdened work that they experience. So there is some money for a stipend to help retain those critically needed healthcare workers. The budget also expands Medicare to all eligible Californians, regardless of your status, and provides a 21% increase for CalWorks recipients, taking major steps to ensure no child is left in poverty. And the state, as we enter another drought year, we've also provided $19 billion for climate packages, in the climate package, I should say, that will assist us in addressing our renewable energy and helping combat the drought situation as well. And as I stated, we have a $37 billion reserve, which will help address any of the uncertainties that will probably come in the next year or so. This year I introduced 12 pieces of legislation. Of those 12, 8 made it to the governor's desk, and of those 8, 6 were passed. So I say it was a bad year for me. And some folks say, oh, it was a good year. You got 6 bills signed. No, that was a bad year for me. But I'm happy about the 6 that we were able to get passed, and they're in the areas of our healthcare workers again, for our public nurses and medical assistants. They weren't afforded proper rest and lunch breaks. So this bill now assures that our healthcare employees, nurses, and medical assistants receive the same level of rest and lunch breaks as we find in our private hospitals and medical facilities. We also ensured that background checks for individuals who previously have run afoul of law, making sure that that's not a burden and a scarlet letter that they carry the rest of their life, which clearly impacts them being able to get housing, getting school loans, getting a home loan, or any of those things. So we're making sure that their information is protected. And also, when you pawn a piece of property, we want to make sure that their information is not compromised, because a lot of folks were accessing that information assuming something was stolen. Law enforcement still will have full access to that, but we're just making sure only the critical information that it will be made available online for people to access. As stated, I chair the Legislative Black Caucus in Public Safety, and we have fought to make sure equity is involved in all the things that we do. Another piece of legislation I passed was SB 1348 that assures that escrow agents are not denied license simply because they have a drug offense. And that's what many folks were being denied, able to access their escrow license simply because they had a simple possession maybe 20 years ago. So we said that shouldn't be held against individuals. These are former offenders who are trying to gain gainful employment. So we also had 1396, which is tenant credit reporting, which allows individuals to build credit worthiness through paying their rent on time. Up until this legislation, you could pay your rent on time for 20 years, but it doesn't go towards your credit rating. Now we're seeing, under certain circumstances, those landlords who want to participate. It's totally voluntary, it's not mandatory, and it's for those smaller units as well, less than 50 units, that they can now report those residents who are paying their credit on time and help establish their credit. And as stated, the nursing hours, making sure that they afforded rest breaks as needed, and court records electronic indexing again. As a result, individuals who need to undergo a background check process to secure work or housing and who have provided their identifiers for this process are being stalled and stopped completely because of our antiquated way that we're seeing. So now we want to make sure that if there's a Chris Brown, we have the right Chris Brown. So at first they didn't want you to access their birthday. We want you to make sure that a common name like George Lopez or whatever the case may be, we have the right person. So we're just asking to provide additional information. Some of our civil rights individuals were opposed to this, acting like it was going to create a witch hunt, but we're finding out that people with common names, again, were denied a loan, denied housing, denied, you know, whatever the case may be, because they accessed the wrong individual and said, oh no, you can't get a loan or whatever the case may be. And SB 1469, which was water decoupling, which all of our major water agencies from Golden State to Metropolitan Water District sponsored this bill, allowing them to better set their rates due to conservation, so it won't be directly tied to contracts that they enter into. So usually you're charged based on the amount of water you're using. We're seeing now we want to encourage conservation, so they won't have to pay a higher rate, because people were paying higher rates because you were conserving. And we said, let's make sure that that's not the methodology, oh, I can't even talk tonight, methodology that we were using in order to determine that. So that was another one. And Water Replenishment District Contracting, which amends the Water Replenishment District Act to provide flexibility for the purchase of materials, equipment, supplies, and professional services. So helps streamline the process as well. So, and as stated, we went over the budget. So I will pretty much stop there. I just share some of the money that we brought to the district, $12 million for the Compton Bridge, well, the Artesia Bridge. It goes to the 91 freeway. I don't know if you've tried to access the 91 freeway from Alameda for the last decade. You can't, because that bridge crossing right there is unsafe, so we're having secured money to help fix the bridge. We did $5.2 million for disadvantaged populations through health disparities, for providing glasses for school-age kids through Angels for Sight. Just did a check presentation about 30 minutes ago in the city of Gardena. We secured $2 million for Gardena Boulevard. It's probably the longest notable street in the city of Gardena, and it hasn't had any infusion of cash in over probably 30, 40 years. So, and we have long-time tenants there like Giuliano's, who's been there for 70 years. So it's going to be providing funds for facade improvements, grant loans, business loans, things of that nature to help stimulate and maintain Gardena Boulevard. And that's pretty much it on the budget. And we secured $7.2 million for Inner City Youth Orchestra, which is a orchestra comprised of kids throughout the city of Los Angeles. It's the largest, primarily minority-comprised orchestra in California, if not the nation, and they need a permanent home. They've been homeless, you know, as far as where they practice. So hopefully this 7.2 will allow them to build a permanent facility and purchase their own instruments, because primarily all their instruments have been donated from colleges, and when they play music and they don't have the sheet music, they have to go and rent the music. And so now they can create their own archive and purchase their own library of music. So that's something I'm excited about as an individual who grew up playing music here in Gardena and in South Bay. That's vitally important. And again, providing instruments for these young kids who don't have to worry about receiving used instruments from colleges that, you know, have discarded them, that they can purchase brand new instruments as well. And I'll just finish on the Reparations Task Force again. It's the first in the nation. I serve on that. The first report came out in June. It's a 500-page report, so if you're bored and you need some reading, I strongly encourage you to do so, but it's a lot of telling information there. Many folks say, well, California didn't have slaves, but we adhered to everything that a slave state did. We had a fugitive slave law. Our first governor totally was against, well, he owned slaves, and he had his way. He wanted to eliminate African Americans from the whole state of California if he had his way. So we have suffered from slavery, even though we weren't, quote unquote, a slave state. So the first report told the history and the vestiges that continue to exist today. And by next June, we'll have the final report that puts a little meat on the bones to say what reparations might look like. It might be free education or CSUs and UC system. It might be zero down payment for first-time home buyers, because it's plenty of folks here in California who have never owned homes. It could be ongoing health care, and could be ongoing child care for those individuals who need it. So excited about that work, but still a lot of work to be done. So I will stop right there, because I know you guys have business to do, and if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Mr. Senator. Let's take a few questions. Councilwoman.
No questions, just a comment. I was really excited to hear about the 7 million. I myself grew up, my mom always made sure to put us in music, and I think it's an important thing as far as expression and all of that. So I was really excited. I'm looking forward to hearing more about that program.
Good, thank you.
Absolutely. Anyone else have any?
And it's plenty of students throughout the South Bay who are part of that inner city youth orchestra program, which has been meeting over in Inglewood for a while.
Can I
Well,
just
I wanna-
ask a question?
Go ahead.
Is that the group that played during the swearing in of Tina?
Yes.
They were really good.
Mhm.
So I'm excited to hear it because that's the first thing that crossed my mind is hearing them that night or that afternoon. And that's going to be exciting for
Yeah.
our area.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They've been rehearsing and practicing for years at the Disney Center, so hopefully with this 7 million, I should say, they'll be able to create their own home for practice and storing instruments and things of that nature. Yeah. And I will, before I take my seat, I would just remind you of the turkey giveaway that we'll be doing at El Camino College on November 22nd. Starts at 10 a.m., from 10 a.m. to noon. So for any resident who needs a turkey, we encourage you to come out.
In-
Huh? Yes, please, please. And like I say, and something that I've been doing the last 12 years. So we look forward to assisting those families who need help during this holiday season.
And I would say, let me first start off, Mr. Senator, by I noticed there was good staff work. I always give my, give
As a staffer?
staff, as a former staffer, kudos, good staff work. So thank you for having some great staff. But I do want to say I'm excited also about the inner city orchestra. I too grew up on music. I wasn't cool enough to be in the band, but wasn't square enough to be in the orchestra. So I was in chorus. Right. Well, that was the parameters, right? The cool kids were in the band. The real, nerdies was in, orchestras, and those
Well, I guess
in the
I was
middle.
a nerd because I was in the orchestra. Okay.
You was in the orchestra? Okay, you was a nurse. See, you made it somehow. So, but I've always admired, the arts, and the arts are good disciplinary tools for students, and so that's why I appreciate the funding for the inner city youth, and just encourage, because we don't have art, like we used to when we was growing up. We had all types of art programs or what have you, performance arts, visual arts, and the whole 9 yards. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for letting us know that we have a check in the mail.
Yes, you do.
And we appreciate that, and we appreciate the governor for for signing such. We can always use that. It's going to go back to gas.
Exactly.
Right. It's going to go back on gas. So we appreciate the gas rebate. In the housing, the student housing. As a parent of a college student, I understand the challenge of student housing, because especially that first year out trying to find housing, it's pretty challenging. Especially in my case, the Northridge. It was pretty challenging to find housing. Either on campus or just surrounding where it's a 15-minute commute or what have you. So I can definitely appreciate that the students will have more housing opportunities. I also want to thank you for SB 1348. I can understand the challenges if you trying to make a living and you have these past, your past shouldn't haunt you, all the time. You go to jail or probation or whatever the punishments were, and that's you made amends, and so you should be able to fully live your life, including your profession. So thank you for that 1348. But most importantly, SB 1396. You said it was voluntary for landlords to report that you had a good pay history, and that should increase your ratings. And I appreciate that as volunteer. But I would say, as you know, even if a person is delinquent on their rent or what have you, that's volunteer for the landlords to report as well, right? So I would like for it, if you're going to volunteer to opt into the credit reporting, which credit reporting is optional. You report all the bad stuff that happens to your tenant as related to it, then you should have to also report the good tenants and the good payment histories as well. But I can definitely appreciate the 1396 because sometimes people don't pay rent for other reasons, not just because they didn't have the rent. They didn't realize that, the law says you had to sit it aside or what have you, because they don't know the law or what have you, because the landlord's not making the necessary, arrangement to keep the property up.
Exactly.
What have you. But thank you for that as well. And last, I will conclude with just thank you in general for all the work you're doing in the legislature, including on the reparation task force. That's a heavy lift. We thank you for being on that task force and for all that you do for us here in the city of Lawndale, for always representing us aggressively in Sacramento and very well. And we thank you for that, Senator.
Thank you. And you made a good point about credit reporting for tenants, because as you stated, they voluntarily report the bad stuff, but they never want to report the good stuff. So we narrowed it down to this type of size units that will fall into that reporting criteria. But it's truly important that you give those folks who have paid their rent on time for decades ability to build credit. And because, again, they are often dinged when they are late with a rent and you're evicted, that follows you. So let's make sure that those individuals, because we understand that by building credit, that individual can go from being a renter to hopefully a homeowner at some point by building credit. So
Absolutely.
that's our intent there.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Senator? Thank you, Mr. Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Have
Ladies
a good
and
evening.
thank you, Senator Bradford.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, item D is our public safety report. Let's hear from our sheriff department.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm here tonight to present the public safety report. Lieutenant Jose Salgado, South Los Angeles Sheriff Station. The report is from October 3rd to October 17th. Our Lawndale deputies responded to 277 calls for service during this period of time. And out of those 277 calls, the Part 1 crimes are the robberies. It was 1 for robbery, 2 for assault, domestic violence, burglary, 5, grand theft auto, 10, forced entry into vehicles, theft from a vehicle, 4, other thefts, which were from residents, 2, shoplifting, 8, and 1 arson. Our Lawndale motorcycle deputy cited 7 for modified exhaust, which is a concern for the city. And there was 1 cite out for our repeat offender that camps out in illegally camping. He was cited out for that, for illegally camping in the city. And that's going to conclude the report for this period. And I can entertain any questions that you may have.
I have a quick question. The illegally camping, is that the same as a homeless encampment, or is that something different?
It would be something different because he's camping in different locations.
Mm-hmm.
So, services may or may not be offered to him, but he's not looking for them. So he's just camping in different parts of the city. But I can look further into that if he's been, he's the repeat offender here in city of Lawndale. So
I've just never heard that term. I'm just not accustomed to the term.
the illegal camping?
Illegal camping. I mean,
Yes.
I've heard that before, but not in the context of like the
Right,
city.
right. We're not actively looking to
Yeah.
cite the homeless that are in camping, so, but
Okay.
this one was brought to the attention, so it was addressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say thank you for letting us know that, that 7 citations were written on those modified mufflers. I have been able to go back to some of the people that I brought to your attention now
Okay.
2 council meetings ago, and let them know that you were working on it. So
Yes,
I look
yes.
forward to being able to share these
Absolutely.
numbers. So I appreciate that, and please continue to keep us posted on those numbers.
Absolutely, we will.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
It's been brought to my attention by several neighbors on 147 and Mansell on Saturday between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. The donuts, it's a black car. You could hear it all the way to Condon. And then they just take off, don't do the stops, and then come back. And it was this past Saturday. I don't know if we could look into that. You can see the tire marks if you go to Mansell on 147th.
Yes.
It's all over the street.
That is an area we've been looking at. We just haven't been lucky enough to catch them. But we are aware of it, and we will continue to try to get them in the act.
Thank you.
Anyone
And
else?
thank you for the report. That was exactly what I was looking for, the
Great,
number.
great. Good,
Thank
good.
you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you for that report, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
good
much.
evening.
You too. Okay, next up is oral communications. Oral communications, when you have the opportunity to speak to this body on items that are not on the agenda. If you'd like to speak to this body on items that are not on the agenda, we ask that you line up by the flag. When it becomes your turn, if you would approach the podium, if you will start with your name first, we would appreciate that. At about 2.5 minutes, the amber light will come on to give you the sign to start wrapping things up. Let's have our first speaker. You want to speak, sir? Yeah, yes. Just come over here by the flag for us.
Gary Adams to address the council and all members of the public of property ownership in the city of Lawndale. I'd like to discuss what I contend to be the illegal code enforcement policy of this city. I've been told by the city manager, the municipal services director, and other city employees that the city has a policy that they only enforce municipal codes when complaints are made. I consider this to be disparate treatment, which is illegal. This policy has been used as an excuse to refuse to treat the people of Lawndale fairly and equally. And it has not been fully complied with, in that numerous complaints that I personally made have never been fully resolved, including ongoing violations at RJ's on Manhattan Beach Boulevard. I've reported for over a month and a half the ongoing violation of hundreds, if not thousands of pounds of illegally stored material on the R3 lot facing Mansell Avenue. The policy has resulted, like I said, in disparate treatment, which is illegal. Furthermore, it has been weaponizing property owner against property owner and the city against selected property owners. However, in order to partially address ongoing illegal activities, I request that the city take judicial notice that I hereby complain about all code violations on all properties in the city that are clearly visible from any and all sidewalks, state highways / streets. These were complaints filed with Michael Reyes last Thursday afternoon, and he advised or directed me to give these complaints to the city council. You guys are all on notice now, and the general public. These complaints are considered these complaints are considered continuous and ongoing. I've worked with various city officials and will continue to do so. I will look forward to making the city of Lawndale a better place to live. I call everyone's attention to a recent Supreme Court decision for West Virginia versus the EPA, and I would call specifically the city attorney to look into this as how it will apply to the city's administration and lack thereof. Again, I look forward to working with the city. Thank you. Oh, for public record, my mailing address is Post Office Box 112, Lawndale, California. I welcome all written comments. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, before the next comment, we're having trouble with the timing system. So I'll have
Okay.
to auditorily give you the 2-minute or 30-second warning.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Lawndale council members. My name is Holly Osborne. I live in North Redondo Beach, only 1 block from Lawndale. As some of you know, I have attended a lot of Metro meetings, city meetings, and the Metro board meetings on Zoom. I also keep up with what is happening on the row, and an event just happened of which you may not be aware. Construction crews were on the row last week repairing erosion damage that had occurred after the recent rain. This is on the road just south of Artesia and is in Redondo, and this section starts just where your section ends. The east side of the road there has a very steep embankment with houses sitting at the bottom of the embankment. This erosion effectively brings the freight tracks closer to the top of the embankment, the way ocean waves bring houses that are on the cliffs in Malibu closer to the ocean. Both Lawndale and Redondo have houses on the east side of the row that are lower than it's the main row itself, i.e. at the bottom of an embankment. In Redondo, the houses are as much as 15 to 20 feet below the row, and erosion was noticed before the recent rain made it worse. In fact, the row is effectively narrower on the east side because the 50-foot distance from the center of the tracks is measured to the house property line at the bottom of the embankment. Thus, the east side of the row is not 50 feet of flat ground from the center tracks, but more like 35 feet. Adding light rail tracks that hug the east side of the row here is problematic. Metro plans to regain a flat part of the row at the top by filling in the embankment and building massive retaining walls. Does Lawndale have erosion problems after rain? I know your houses aren't that much as below as Redondo's, but if not currently, will they be subject to them when the light rail tracks are inserted and the tracks are closer to the edge of the row than currently, and trains go by almost 200 times a day? Will you also need retaining walls? What is distressing about this is that none of this was mentioned in the original presentations back in 2018. And what is ironic about this is that last week, Metro was speaking at the Great Room, that's on Artesia, just across the street from Lawndale, to a Redondo Beach business group at a request. The Great Room is right smack next to the row, and construction crews were on the row working during the time of the meeting. I have just mentioned technical problems. There are, of course, all the quality of life issues associated with trains going by constantly, with neighborhoods being bisected by closure or blockage of surface streets. So please take a firm stand against the row option. And one last point. I have walked the row in Lawndale, and many of your citizens there are unaware of these Metro plans. So perhaps an informational meeting at William Green Elementary could be held. And thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm very happy to tell you that I live across the street in the other lane for the last, since the early 80s. Unfortunately, lately, the city sheriff department, and I don't mean to imply that they're directly responsible for this, but they don't patrol the area in the nighttime. So sunsets, people gather in this corner, in this other corner, and in the parking lot across the street, males, adult males, till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they're loud, they smoke their pot, they do whatever. And it's okay for a lot of people. Unfortunately, my car got vandalized. My neighbor's car, 4 of my neighbor's trucks been vandalized. They lost their tools. Last Monday, a member of my family lost her car. They got stolen from in front of my house, in front of your door. Incidentally, I came and asked for the tape and told me to wait 11 days. Where is it coming from? If the city has a tape of the crime area, I like to get it. My tape shows that 3 people around here. No one patrols this area. Okay, whoever made the decision not to patrol the area, they have to review this, because this area is a magnet for people that come from other cities. And they gather in this corner, they gather in this corner, they gather in the parking lot. And I believe that nobody runs a red light in front of a police officer. So the police officers are, I think there's a need for them to patrol this area. One of my neighbors came to me and he said, maybe we need to buy guns and patrol the area. That's not right. It's unfair to us. And people might say, yes, it's $400. We can go to the insurance for $400, $500. But if you total everything that we lost thousands of dollars as neighbors. I leave it up to you. You have the answers. Okay, so I appreciate if you do something about the patrolling of the area in the nighttime. A year or 2 years ago, the homeless were here. They patrolled, they left. Now they don't patrol anymore. So I don't know, lack of manpower, or lack of desire, I don't know. But we're losing money every time. I can't go to sleep, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, they walk around here, and then the people doing donuts that I don't sleep.
30 seconds.
Okay? That's unfair. It's unfair to us, not only to me and my family, to my whole neighborhood. I know a lot of people don't live in this area. So City Hall is great. I live across City Hall. I say proudly. But now it's a problem. Okay, so thank you for letting me bring the problem to you. And sincerely, I hope you do something about it. I appreciate it. You do great work. I'm not here to badmouth you, but you need to see my point of view.
Right.
Okay, I can't come home at night because I can't work here.
Your time has expired.
Okay.
So thank you so very much.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay.
Yes,
Sir, could we get your name?
Give us just repeat your name one time for us.
Oh, Jesus and Marmenta.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
I
Thank
lived
you.
there for lots of years, so
Yes, sir.
help me.
Thank you.
Good evening, Randall Abram. Over the years, the city clerk's office and the finance department have been responsive and timely to my request for any records pertaining to organizations selling fireworks for July 4th. My most recent request included the proof of verification of membership for those groups selling fireworks. The municipal code dictates that verification that the organization meets these membership requirements shall be demonstrated through the submission of a list of names and addresses, and in the case of youth-based organizations, a statement of the age of each member of the organization. The purpose of this verification is to provide proof that a minimum of 30% of the membership of a community-based organization making the application for a fireworks permit must reside or be employed within the city, and in the case of a youth-based organization, at least 30 of the youth members of such organization must reside within the city at the time of the filing of the application for a permit. Out of the records for the 6 organizations that applied last year, only 2 organizations provided this required proof. In order to maintain confidentiality, the Rotary Club simply indicated the name of the members and that the city they lived in. From this, it was easy to determine that this group was made up of at least 30% Lawndale residents. The Lawndale Chamber of Commerce also provided a list of membership that met the criteria. The other organizations, 4 organizations, self-certified they met the membership criteria by simply signing a form. Nowhere is a self-certification addressed in the code, as the code clearly states that a membership roster shall be provided. As 4 of these organizations failed the financial audit last year, it is doubtful that self-certification would also be properly managed. The youth group requirement is that 30 of its members reside within the city, verified by simply a statement of the age of each member. This did not happen either. In reviewing the list of members for the Chamber of Commerce, I noticed that the Lawndale Rotary Club is a member of this organization. Would granting the Lawndale Rotary Club a separate permit to sell fireworks be in conflict with the intent of 8.12.40 qualification number 4, which only allows 1 fireworks stand per organization? Reviewing the certificates of insurance for the fireworks stand, it is unclear if they meet the property damage requirements as required. The only property damage coverage on the certificate is for $500,000 for rented premises and not the required $1 million. After my email exchanges with the finance director last week, I appreciate that he's looking into these issues. The second financial report from these groups is at the end of this month. These documents will form the basis of the audits by the finance department. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to close public comments and bring it up to the diocese for any comments by the council. Let's hear
Okay.
from Mr.
I want to
McCurney.
thank the young lady and the three gentlemen that spoke tonight. I will address two of the issues with Holly. Maybe our city manager and our Metro subcommittee could find out about the work being done over there, because I didn't know nothing about that, about the work in there, so maybe you guys can find out. And I think Jesus is talking to the sheriff, so that's a good thing. So with that, I'll pass it on to my colleague to my right.
Councilwoman Suarez.
Thank you. Just wanted to say thank you to everybody that came out and showed up to the meeting, those of you who spoke and gave your comments. So yes, ongoing code violations we don't speak about publicly. Those are handled through our internal offices. Agree with Councilmember Kearney regarding Metro and having our subcommittee perhaps take a look at what's going on there, because I know they quite regularly have communication with Metro regarding the green line and what we're facing with that. And that's actually all I have. I just, again, want to thank everybody that came out and spoke, and I'll pass it along to my colleagues.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out and speaking, and also sitting in the audience. Both Councilmember Suarez and Kearney already said what I was going to say, so there's no need for me to repeat. But Metro is my main focus, and also the sheriff is outside. I want to make sure that they get the person that's doing those donuts, because it's not just affecting this section here. You could hear it all the way to Inglewood and 147th. So we need to catch whoever's doing that.
Oh, yeah. Yes, ma'am. Madam Pro Tem Hoffman-Gorman.
Thank you to everyone that came out and spoke tonight. I'm glad to see our sheriff lieutenant out speaking with the resident about that ongoing issue. Holly, here in the city of Lawndale, the mayor and I sit on the subcommittee that is dealing with Metro. I was unaware of the work that was being done on the tracks there. And I can promise you in our next meeting, which is not currently scheduled with Metro, I will be bringing that up. Also, currently, we are in the midst of speaking to all of the voting members of Metro in regards to Lawndale's position on the track coming through our city. And we have been fortunate enough to meet with all the so far the deputies of transportations for the voting members, and this week we're excited to know that we're meeting with a couple of the actual voting members personally. At those meetings, I would like to also get that information to them as well. And the figures, I would like, if you were reading that, I would like to have a copy of that so that I have it in front of me at the time. Or you could email me that information, and I'll be more than happy to add that to the list of things that I'm speaking with them about. I'd appreciate that. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. I, too, want to thank all those who spoke tonight and those who came out tonight. Following up on the Metro issue, I think the issue here Ms. Osborne presented, and thank you for coming to our council meeting, is concerning road erosion and whether or not or what type of road erosion, I should say, would be caused by the light rail, the extension of the light rail. Of course, that's something that should be addressed in the environmental impact statement when that come out. So obviously, we would be interested to know what is the effect of road erosion, having that many, of course, trains going through so frequently or what have you. I don't know the answer to that, but we definitely will be looking for that, Mr. City Manager, in our in the environmental impact statement, and to see what their plans are to mitigate those issues if in fact it turns out to be the case, which I'm sure there's some type of road erosion, but not being, an engineer or what have you, we have to take a look at the environmental impact. But thank you for bringing it to our attention, and we certainly will keep our eye on that and bring it up at our next meeting. The area, Mr. Jose spoke about patrolling the area. I do agree, yes, we should have some additional patrolling in the area. And you talk about the donuts, you can hear the donuts all the way to my house, whatever they're doing out there. I've heard it a few times, and so, yeah, if we can catch those folks that's drag racing or whatever they're doing out there, that would be great, because that's a public safety hazard. So thank you, see Jose, for bringing that to our attention. Jesus. Is Jesus? Okay, yeah, Jesus, yeah. Thank you, Jesus. Let's see what else I want to address. Mr. Randall Abrams brought up the fireworks guidelines to make sure that all the organizations that partake in that program is in compliance. I take it that the city manager is taking a look at that, still taking a look to make sure the organizations are in compliance that partake in that program.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and Council, the finance director, we talk every week. We receive correspondence from Mr. Abram, and we discuss all the submittals, and we're still reviewing everything.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. And with that, that's all I have in terms of public comments, responses. Okay, we will turn the page to the consent calendar. Item F is the consent calendar. There's 5 items on the consent calendar. What is the pleasure of this body concerning such?
If there's no additions or subtractions, I make a motion to accept the consent calendar as written.
I'll second that.
So the motion's been made by Kearney that we adopt the consent calendar and seconded by Cuevas. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll ask the council to please vote on the motion.
For the consent calendar, the motion passes.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Next item under administration is a potential rescheduling or cancellation of upcoming council meeting. Let's have a staff report.
Mr. Mayor, if that's going to get the presentation for council.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Yvette Hall, Assistant City Clerk. As you are aware, the holiday season is approaching. I have received confirmation from the county that the certified election results will be provided to the city on Tuesday, December 6th. Due to the timing of the receipt of the election results, staff would like to know if council would like to declare the election results and conduct other election-related matters at the Monday, December 19th City Council meeting. In addition, staff would like to recommend that the meeting of Monday, January 2nd, 2023 be canceled because this is a holiday and City Hall is closed. In conclusion, staff is seeking guidance and direction from the council on whether you would like to reschedule or cancel any upcoming council meetings as outlined in my report. That concludes my report, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Madam Assistant City Clerk, for that report. Are there any discussions on the report? Most of these are routine that we kind of do every year.
Robert?
Yes, sir.
I would like to see the December 19th meeting still be held, so we get the final everything, so, it's all cut and dried. And not have to wait call for a special meeting when we have it already scheduled. And it could be a light meeting, just the results of election, anything election coordinated with it.
Yes, ma'am.
I do agree with Pat. I would like to keep December 19th so we could find out the results and just make it a couple of items on the agenda. If that's it, then we use that.
Okay. Anyone else have any?
I do have
Any items
a
on
question.
that?
Do we, and off the top of my head, I just cannot remember, do we usually cancel the one closer to the Thanksgiving holiday as well?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
believe.
there's a few on here at one time.
Oh, okay.
I do agree with keeping the 19th meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with the 19th as well, staying on there.
Okay, so it sounds like we'll, let's see, keep the 19th.
Mr. Mayor,
And then we have the 20
November 21st outlined in the staff report as a possible cancellation before the Thanksgiving holiday.
Right, yeah, 21st and December 19th.
Yeah.
So we'll keep December 19th, right? Is that, that's what I'm hearing? And what about November 21st? We usually council November 21st, that day, yeah. You're right. You good with? Okay, so it sounds like we have consensus to council November 21st and keep. Oh, I see. Where's January 2nd right here? Oh, here, see. Okay, in this one right here, January 2nd. Are we keeping January 2nd, or are we canceling January 2nd?
We're closing, Mr. Mayor.
We're closing. Okay. All right, so we will cancel the November 21st, cancel January the 2nd, 2023, and we will keep December 19th. So, I think we can take.
Do we have a consensus?
I think we can take it by consensus.
Do we vote or?
No, we can do that. We can do that by consensus, yeah. So that'll be the order. We'll cancel 2 and keep 1. All right, very good. All right, let's see what else we have tonight. Okay, item number 7 is the quarterly investment report. Let's have the staff report from the Treasurer's Department.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you. So this is our quarterly investment report, kind of an update for everybody up here. Just to kind of go over the numbers real quick, we have about 43.6 million in cash and investments, about another 2.2 million cash held with fiscal agent in the Lawndale Redevelopment Agency tax allocation bonds, 1,150 in petty cash, and another about 750,000 in the PAR's retirement plans. To kind of go over some facts of what's going on with the current economy and current rates, you can see that at September 30, the LAIF interest rate has gone up to 1.6%. That's for ending this September 30th. 3 months ago, June 30th, it was at 0.99, and prior to that, you know, it was down below 0.5%. So it has been going up. The feds have been raising interest rates, so that's affecting the LAIF returns that we're receiving. So it is going up. At the same time, rates on CDs and U.S. bonds is also increasing. We have about 4.2 million in CDs currently. You can see on the schedule, there's 3 of them that are maturing within less than 1 month, and then, you know, a handful or so, about 10 or so, I guess, medium term, 1 to 3 years, and then there's another 3 that are 5 years or longer. You'll notice the ones that are 5 years or longer, those were bought about 2 years ago when rates were really low. So all 3 of those are paying less than 1%. We're kind of, you know, can't really do anything with those. We're just stuck with them. If we do, you know, if an emergency happened, we did need to get rid of them, we could, but then you end up paying with some fees on top of that as well. So currently, at least we're making something on them. It's not the best situation, but at the time, I think when, you know, it was purchased a few years ago, it was 2 or 3 times better than what LAIF was paying at that time. So currently, the most recent ones that we've purchased are paying about 3.5%, and they continue to rise. Currently, with today's, they're actually in the 4.5% range. And the other thing that also, you know, I discussed with the city manager, Sean, is that we look at some U.S. bonds because those are really going up as well. We can secure about 4% fairly easy right now, even 4.5% to 5% depending on how far out we go. But you know, since rates are continuing to go up, we're not too eager to lock in those rates right now because, you know, I think we'll have to see. They are going up, so we can probably get 5%, I think, by the end of the year. But they do go up, and, you know, the feds are, you know, rumors are that there's going to be more rate hikes the next 2-3 meetings. So we're kind of waiting to see what happens, just so we don't lock the money down at a lower rate when we could get better rates in a few months. But at the same time, I don't want to say we shouldn't lock in a rate right now and, because then we're giving up some interest as well, so we got to kind of take that into account as well. I don't want to say I don't want to invest in anything for 6 months or so, because then we're giving up interest for 6 months when we could be collecting money. So, we're looking at our cash flow needs and what we can invest in to make sure that we do the best decision for the city. So that's kind of, where the economy is. Rates are continuing to go up, so that's good news. As far as just real quick, our liquidity, our checking accounts, we got about 15.9 million. LAIF has 23.5. So combined, it's about 39.4. This is very liquid cash. Like if we need it, it's available pretty much within a day. That's about 90% of our portfolio. The rest of it is in CDs. Short term makes up 1.7, medium 6.2, and long term is about 1.7%. So overall, we're in good shape as far as our investments and our cash flows. We continue to look at it on a daily basis, weekly basis, just to make sure we're on top of it. And if we need to do some investments, move money around to where it needs to go, we'll do that. Just recently, after the quarter ended, I did move another $5 million out of the checking account and moved it into LAIF. Just the money is, not needed in the checking account, and LAIF is paying like 1.75% now. So you can see even from September through today, it's up to 1.75. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you for that report. Are there any questions on the report? Okay, no questions. I do want to make note of the liquidity, and I'm glad to see that we do have a good portion of our portfolio with the ability to have access to that money quickly should we need it. So I'm glad to see that that's happening here in this report. But all in all, this is a great report. Anyone else have anything they want to add? All right. With that, thank you, Mr. Finance Director, for that report. We will receive and file that, right? Yeah.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Without any objection. So do we need, the city attorney, do you want me to? Okay, we'll receive and file it. All right. Okay. Item 8 is professional service agreement extension.
Good
Yes, ma'am.
evening, Mayor Pullman Miles and the City Council. This request from staff is for an extension of the de novo planning group agreement for the general plan and housing element and Hawthorne Boulevard specific plan update. As you may know, we have been updating our housing, our general plan, our Hawthorne Boulevard specific plan since 2019, and due to COVID-19, we had to extend it last year on December 6, 2021, to be extended an additional year for the end of this year to December 2022. Unfortunately, due to the housing elements delays because of the state's Housing Community Development Department's regulations, the housing element was extended. As you may know, thankfully, we just got it certified on October 13th. So now we can continue updating our general plan and Hawthorne Boulevard specific plan. So staff is requesting an extension till December of 2023, December 31st, 2023, in order to finish the general plan and Hawthorne Boulevard specific plan update. And that concludes staff report.
Okay. First, I want to say congratulations on the certification of the housing element. Seemed like it went rather smoothly. Sometimes those housing elements come back, go back and forth with different comments from the department, and it's not an easy thing to get get certified in the manner in which this was certified. So I want to thank the staff for all that in the department for that good teamwork and staff work. Thank you for leading the department in that effort. Is there any questions on this report?
I just want to say congratulations, Jared, and your team. I believe I read somewhere it was the second one in, maybe Sean knows, is it South Bay or LA County?
Yeah, I guess that we're in the South Bay, the second city to get our housing element adopted. And there's other cities throughout the state, but the second one down, and not many cities have been certified in their housing elements.
Well, the other ones don't count. We're talking about South Bay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're good. Yeah. We're good. Very good.
That's it.
Go ahead. Got anything else?
No, that's it.
All right.
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations, Jared and
Thank you.
team. My question is, if we extend, what's the cost,
Mm-hmm.
and
Good.
where are we getting those funds from?
So we do have funds that were set aside for that. We did an RFP, and we have not used our funds. If you take a look at, there's a page on the funding where we've only used, we still have left about $500,000 from that allocated money.
Okay.
And some of this monies we're getting refunded by SB2 grant and the LEAP grant as well. So we're not going to be using all of the allocated funds.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, just a reminder, this funding of the general plan and Hawthorne Boulevard plan update was funded through the sale of the corner of that property that we sold a few years back. That money's been set aside for all these years, and as well as the 2 grants that Jared mentioned. And I just want to mention that I had a robust conversation with with De Novo. We asked that this time we not ask for another extension, and they assured us that this work would be done. They told us that because of HCD pushing back on all the cities, they were delayed, and because of COVID. But, I told them I was disappointed that we hadn't finished, because this is the second extension, I think, and this time we need to finish, so I made it very clear.
Very good. Thank you for making that clear. Any other comments? Okay, with that, recommend the city council. So this will necessitate a motion because you're extending
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Go with staff's recommendation.
Okay, so the motion's been made by Suarez that we go with staff recommendation concerning the extension.
Extension to
of the-
December 2023.
There you go, and seconded by
Me.
Mr. Pat Kearney. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, would the council please vote?
For item number 8, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, madam. Okay, number 9, Trans-Tech Engineering Contract Agreement Extension.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is also a request to extend the contract for Trans-Tech engineers for planning services. The original service agreement had expired on June 30th, 2022, and in June 6th, 2022, we came before you to request a 6-month extension as we were hoping to hire a new associate planner. And we recently have hired an associate planner. However, we need additional help while the associate planner gets trained and familiar with the city's process. And we're requesting an additional 6-month extension. So that would be until December, the current extension expires December 31st, 2022, and then the next extension would be expiring on June 30th, 2023. And as for fiscal impact, we are requesting $39,000 to set aside for paying the Trans-Tech engineers. However, I just want to make sure that the funds that are being used are basically coming from site plan reviews. So whatever the Trans-Tech company charges, we're having the planner just work on site plan reviews. So it's being billed towards the site plan reviews, and we are basically recovering all of the work that is being done by the consultant, which means that it's not really costing the city any money from the general fund. So I just wanted to make that clear. Staff recommendation is to approve the contract extension for Trans-Tech engineers and the augmentation services for the community development department as we train our associate planner to get more familiar with the city's process. And number 2, authorize the finance department to transfer $39,000 from the community development department salaries full-time account to the department's contract services account. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you for the report. Let's hear some comments from Councilwoman Cuevas.
I just want to know why it's going to take the new hire 6 months to train.
So right now, we are short-staffed. We only have myself and one planner, because what happened is that the consultant had to leave on leave for a couple months. She will be back in November, so we're gonna need additional time to catch up, and then after that, we should be good. That's why it's taking additional time.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I can explain a little bit. We're short, we used to have an associate, a senior, and a community development director. And so we don't have the full staff augmentation right now in place. This additional staff member will be part-time. They only work 20 hours a week, and they do just focus on site plan reviews. While Jarrett is training the new planner, eventually we'll look at adding that position back eventually if needed. But right now, with the economy not showing where it's at, this is a great opportunity right now to use some contract staffing in there, handle the overflow for site plans, but also allow Jarrett to, get the right side, get the department in line.
But it's gonna take 6 months to catch up?
Well, I would say that they're catching up now, but the department is moving forward, we're processing site plans, but it takes a few months to learn the job, understand Lawndale. This is a very unique city. You get the background in planning, but you don't know Lawndale till you work here. I didn't know it for a few months. It took about 6 months, 7, maybe even longer. I'm still learning. So, it does, to learn all the specific nuances of Lawndale, all of our development standards, it takes a while to practice them and learn them and move them forward.
If this new hire catches on and in 4 months he or she is on their own, are we able to cancel the 6 months contract?
Of course, this is an as-needed contract. But again, like I mentioned, we're still short a staff member. This is a great way to augment instead of hiring right now at this point, just depending on the economy, because we all know where the economy may be heading. So we're just being careful without adding staff at this time, but using the contract service on a limited basis. And should we need to cancel that, we can.
Thank you.
And just to add, we only did 6 months because we're pretty sure that we're probably not gonna need a full year. So we just did like a short period of time, just in case we need to cancel the contract prior to that.
Okay. What is the pleasure of this body concerning this item?
I have one question, Robert.
Okay.
Jared, you said somebody was off for a couple of months. Who was it? Was it somebody from DeNova?
No, this is Transtech Engineers.
Okay.
Mhm.
So somebody was off for a couple of months. Did they get paid?
No.
That contract?
No,
Okay.
they were not paid.
Okay.
Very good.
Oh, just reiteration, this planner is only used for site plan reviews, and they bill off their time from those. So there's zero cost to the city.
So it could be less than the $39,000.
Oh, of course, yeah, because this planner that's off, she already has a lot of experience, so she's been really efficient at getting these site plans out, and they're a lot less than normal.
Okay, what is the pleasure of this body concerning
Well,
item
I'll
9?
make a motion to go with staff recommendation with approve the contract, authorize the finance department with attachments.
And I'll second it.
So the motion's been made, including the attachments from Councilman Pat Kearney and seconded by Councilwoman Swears. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, would the council please vote on item 9?
For item number 9, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, madam. Let's hear item 10, update on the sales tax measure L Oversight Committee.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. So this is an update on the sales tax measure L. This was voted by council back in 2018 and was put on the ballot in November 2018 and went to public for vote. It was passed, and therefore it's added an additional 3/4 cent sales tax to within the city of Lawndale. Just kind of a quick background, the purpose of the sales tax was to secure additional revenue for the city in order to maintain the residents' stated priorities, ensuring the city can continue to deliver key community services at the levels our residents expect and deserve. So at the time this was done, this was really to, at the 3/4 cent, but if the city didn't, the county had the option to really kind of take that so that the city wouldn't get the full benefit of it. So that was a good decision by the city. And the chart I have in the staff report, just lists out the revenues that we've received for since 2018. We have exceeded the expectation of 2.1 million. The most current 21, 22 is the full current year actuals that we have, and that generated 3.3 million. 22, 23, I have a budget of 2.8. It's less just because those are, HDL estimates that I'm going based off of. Some of the data is a little bit old, and then the 3.3 was high because, coming out of COVID, a lot of the sales really shot up better than people expected, so it's pretty good. So there's good revenues being generated. These are, being used for general services as is a general fund tax, so it's being used, for sheriff's services, street maintenance, community safety, community programs, as well as other general government services. As far as, this is a big piece of the general fund revenue. It's 16% in total of our general fund budget, so it is a big chunk. Without this, I kind of estimated that there'd be basically a deficit of about $1.8 to $2 million annually without having this money received. So it is good that we have it. It is providing, for these services. As part of the ordinance, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but as part of the ordinance, council has the option to create a Measure L oversight committee, which has not currently been done. And so that's where we're looking for direction from council. Either take no action, continue with the current, kind of relying on our audit reports, because we do not have any findings regarding this, and I do feel that we are spending this money reasonably. Or the second option is to create an oversight committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
And I just kind of want to, speak, because I had brought up at the last meeting an update on this. For some reason, I seem to think it was a requirement, the oversight committee. I know one of the issues we've had in the past with other committees we've tried to make is getting a consistent body of individuals that want to serve. So that's one of my concerns, is because I know we had reached out, a few of us back in 2018, potential candidates, and there was no follow-up. So with them, at least, they had said yes, but it wasn't something I think that they had come forward and really wanted to. I'm thinking it's one of those things where it's kind of been a number of years. I still think it's important to point out to residents what the money has gone towards. I would suggest at the next budget meeting, because that's when you can really look at everything as a whole, maybe taking a few minutes to kind of talk about it. And this report was perfect. It kind of outlined, what we've been using it towards, which basically it's become part of, essential government services and activities. So I think I would be okay with if at the next budget meeting we can have a report similar to this. And then if there are any citizens that have questions, are free to come and kind of, attend that meeting, and that way it's open to the whole community to during that budget session, and they can ask more in-depth questions.
Thank you for that. I agree. Yes, sir.
I agree with Bernadette, but I'd like to see us bring it back and see if we have the residents now, this is 2018, this is 2022, to sit on the oversight committee. For transparency reasons, I think that's a good idea. If we bring it back and we have nobody, then we move forward with the way it's been running.
And just,
Anyone else?
I guess to add, I know back then I had asked several residents, and it's happened, and it's a good point to bring up, make it an option, but I know there, for example, we had a social media, we tried to get a social media committee we tried to get going a few years back, and it was very difficult to get people interested in serving on it. So that's just my concern, is doing, I guess we can scope out if there's interest, and then if not, then do it just at the regular budget session.
Yeah, I agree. Any other comments on this item? Which item is this? Item 10. Okay, with that, we will receive this report. Thank you for that update. Item 11, approval.
Point of order, please.
Let's see.
Did we
I
decide
think,
on?
Mr. Mayor, we needed some kind of direction.
Yes, I was gonna say that.
What was the direction?
Why don't you just do a post?
Keep it the way it is, do an oversight, or do nothing for now? Those are 3 options.
I only see 2.
Well, if you,
No,
if you don't give any direction, then you.
Yeah, no, there are 2, and one was to keep it the way it is, the other was to bring forth the committee, but I did hear 2 of you say you'd be interested in seeing it come back at the budget time, and I believe Councilman Kearney said, and at that time, see if we have citizens enough interested, as Councilmember Suarez said, that'd be a good time to bring it back up again. And so if that's the direction, I think we can take that without a formal vote.
Yeah, I think we definitely should look at it during the budget time so we can see the necessity of it holistically. Because we don't want to get in a position where we had some committees where they were basically meeting to meet. And we did get rid of a couple of committees in the last couple of years that they was basically, it was mandated they meet, and what they was meeting for, who knew? Right, so we don't want a situation like that, so.
So you want to leave it as it is to tell the budget committee?
And then we look at the budget
Okay.
holistically, yeah.
I'm good with that.
Okay, is that,
Yep,
you happy with that?
that's,
City Manager?
yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's continue our calendar. The agenda, item number 11, approval to dispose of 2 vehicles from Public Works.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. I'm Ad Ansari, Interim Public Works Director. I'll make this item very short and sweet. It's regarding approval to dispose of 2 vehicles for Public Works Department. As council is aware, on an annual basis, the city identifies vehicles, equipment that have reached or passed the useful life. This year, we have identified 2 vehicles. One is 14 years old, the other one is 16 years old, in the Department of Public Works. And we are asking the City Council to authorize staff purchasing officer to go through the public auction, as the city has done in the past. In your staff report also refers to Lawndale Municipal Code 3.08, which establishes the duties of the purchasing officer. So these 2 vehicles are, one is 2006, as I said, 2008. In the past, the city has used the services of Ken Porter Auctions. So we are asking the City Council to consider that this year as well. And with that, I am prepared to answer any questions.
Are there any questions on disposing of the 2 vehicles?
Well, not a question for you, for the city manager. For the last 10 years, I've been asking the breakdown, what we make on these cars when we sell auction. I don't care if it's $1.25, I'd like to see the numbers, what we get back on the cars. Or the vehicles, I should say.
Mayor and council, not a problem. We'll get that information once we take it over to the auction.
Okay.
We'll bring that back.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay, so they're seeking approval.
Um,
Let's have a motion on this one, so.
I'll motion to approve the sales of the 2006 Toyota Prius and 2008 Ford Escalade.
Okay, so the
I'll
motion
second
been
it.
made by Cuevas and seconded by Kearney. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, council, please.
For item number 11, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Let's hear from our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members and members of the public. Well, I guess the thunder was we already congratulate Ms. Chavez and her department on certifying the general plan. It's a big deal. It's been challenging working with HCD, all the cities and counties. They've really cracked down on housing because we're in a housing crisis, and so it's been very difficult. So again, I just want to thank Jared and the team for getting that done. It was a great effort, and The other thing is, I just want to remind the council, if you have any comments or questions or anything you need to report, that you can send that over to me, and then we'll, in terms of bulky items, I've been driving in the city as well, searching for them. Sometimes you'll see the cones, when we have construction going on, some folks kind of take those cones and take them to their houses and use them to hold parking off, as we know, and then I'll get calls, but please let me know, and I'll have staff go out there. Today, we did have some folks out on I had to ask Mr. Reyes and LASD. We had some folks out there soliciting on all four corners of Marine and Hawthorne. We were able to get them to leave. I actually had to go around and ask them to finally leave, because after the sheriffs went there, Mr. Reyes went there, they still kept coming back. So I camped out, and we waited for them over at the Smart and Final, and that's where they were camped out. We asked them, hey, you cannot solicit here, please move on. So they were blocking traffic on all four directions. So we are out there trying to clean up the city. If you have something, I encourage the residents, just email me, give me a call, whatever, we'll go and get those things taken care of. That's it.
Very good.
You have something for Sean on the bulky
Yes.
items. Do you guys go around and pick it up, or do we have to call? Because a mini fridge was left in front of a house on a Monday and never got picked up. I didn't call it in because I was waiting to see if staff would drive by to pick it up, and never got picked up. And so, it was in front of my house.
So we have staff assigned to 4 quadrants and public works staff. Now, some items are to be picked up by Republic, so they put them out there. But some of the folks, residents from other cities, actually dump in our city.
No, but this fridge, we took it out.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And I didn't call it in because I figured, let me see if staff is gonna drive by and pick it up.
So you're the one.
It stayed there Monday, Tuesday, and it got picked up by Wednesday by the consolidated people.
Okay, well, I'll talk to public works staff. and let them
I
know.
just want to know, are they driving by and not picking it up? Because on my street, there's no cars blocking my driveway or the sidewalk. There's no parking on my side of the street. So that was very visible. It was white.
I'll check
But
with staff, and
I
then,
didn't want to call because I figured, let me check with staff and see if.
yeah, we do have staff driving around all 4 quadrants of the city and picking up bulky items, but they may have missed that, so I'll bring that to their attention.
Please do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She's the secret shopper.
Hey,
All right, thank you for that. That's all you have, Mr. City Manager?
That's it, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Are we moving
Councilman
on to
Pat
number
Curran.
12 or what?
Okay, we was doing
Okay, I
city
know.
manager's report.
I know.
And now we're on items from council
you
members,
go.
if I'm reading it correctly.
I just have 3. All right.
Okay, okay, you're back.
Thanks, Robert. I attended the Library Trust and Oversight Committee on the 12th. We didn't spend no money, so it's a good thing. Then I attended with Councilwoman Suarez and City Manager Sean Moore, the JPIA Management Forum. I only stayed one night because I had an old person injury. I had to go home and nurse. But it was very informative. And then I also attended with Councilwoman Suarez and Councilwoman Cuevas, the grand opening of Retro Games Plus, the ribbon cutting ceremony. It's located at 4429 Redondo Beach Boulevard. It buys and sells games that I played when I was young, so that has to be 60 years ago. But it's a great place, and the owner's name is Chris. So stop in and say hello to Chris. And I have 2 of our council members bought stuff there. And with that, Robert, I'll pass it on to you, back to you.
Councilmember Kearney reported mine. I will just add with regards to the conference for the Joint Powers Insurance Authority. Is that it? Did I get them all? Okay. So with regards to that conference, there was one in particular that I think would benefit the whole council. It was a session regarding somewhat of strategic planning, and we all have, each council member has their projects that they want to see get done. And what this focused on was making sure that we prioritize which ones we collectively want to see get done first. That way staff has clear direction, and we kind of set them in order of priority. That way we're not all overloading and getting nothing done. So I definitely think that might be something we want to look at as far as strategic planning and what projects that are upcoming that we want to place more focus on. That way we can actually accomplish those goals. And with that, I'll pass it along.
I did attend with Pat and Bernadette the Retro Games grand opening. It reminds me of the 80s and 90s when we used to play video games. So if you still have your Atari, they have the cartridges for Atari. They still have your old Nintendo. It's great. Couldn't stay away from comic books either. I would like to know for our next meeting if we could get an update of the properties that are being built on Hawthorne, and an update on the property, the Hawthorne and Manhattan update on what's going on. I know we had a hotel that was going to go up on, one or two hotels that was going up on Hawthorne Boulevard. It's still there. Empty lots. I don't know what's going on there. And then the big empty lot. And then if also we could invite the Chamber of Commerce to attend our meeting and give us a presentation of what they have done in the past year for the city of Lawndale. We do have a Chamber of Commerce, but we have no idea what they're doing. I did have someone that wanted information on business, and they tried to go into Chambers of Commerce, and they didn't find anybody at the Chambers of Commerce. They left a message, no call back. So if maybe someone could come and do a presentation of the businesses that they're working with in the past year. And with that, that would be all. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I can answer real quick. I can answer the three properties. Mr. Patel, the bigger property closer to Panda, that's in plan check. The other Mr. Patel property, not related to him, the other hotel, they're trying to work out their fire issues and their plan check issues. And the corner property, we're meeting with the developers, I think Wednesday, to talk to them about their proposed plans.
Could we make their process maybe a priority? Because it's an eyesore where their properties are going. Right now, they're just empty, dirty lots that people that don't know we have projects going on there that are driving through Hawthorne, they're all like looking at us saying, the city doesn't care, especially on the main corridor.
Definitely can talk to them about fast tracking some of it, like the smaller Mr. Patel property, he hasn't moved forward. I think they might have some, they're working on their fire requirements. They said it was really expensive. And Mr. Patel, he's interested in building the hotel. The other property, the big one, that is, they're looking at alternative uses for the site, and they're working with staff. So we are working with them diligently. It's just, they've been away on other development projects, and they're finally ready to move forward. I talked to them last week to do something on the corner property.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Hoffman-Gorman.
Well, the last couple of weeks have been rather dark for me. I am looking forward to meeting on Wednesday with Janice Hahn, and again on the 26th with Supervisor Holly Mitchell on behalf of the Metro project. I also want to bring up, is there any way, and I don't know which department I'm asking for this from, I'm getting complaints of flyers again on trees and on just handbills and garage sales and things that people are, lost dogs, and they're happening in all the quadrants currently. When they're driving through the city, can we stop and pick some of that up off of the trees and the light poles and wherever else they're posted?
Yeah, we can have staff look into that. That's definitely not a problem.
And finally, I just want to say that I look forward to seeing all the little ghosts and goblins out on Halloween night here at the city at our annual Halloween event. It's always a fun time, and we look forward to having each and every one of you and your little friends come out and trick or treat with us. That's all I have.
All righty, thank you. So I just have 2 items tonight. I did attend the regular meeting of the Los Angeles County Sanitation District meeting. No real reportable actions there. It was just all things trash, as well as wastewater, pretty routine meeting there. But I did have lunch also with the seniors. Those, in case those are interested in participating in the senior program, the senior lunch program is back in full swing over at the community center, the Harold Hoffman Community Center. So if you are a senior, they usually start about 11:30, and they have a good time over there, and they're slowly building it back up in terms of the turnout. And so we had a good time with the seniors. We did not have chicken this time. We had fish, salmon, and it was salmon. It was pretty good. I mean, it's brought to you by the county, so how good could it be? But we had a good time anyway. So those that are interested, please stop by. Let me confirm, are they meeting every day now? I know it was 3 days a week, but one of the seniors said every day.
Yeah, we're back to almost full services with the seniors, yes.
Okay, very good.
What's the
5 days a week. If you think you're a senior, you're welcome. You're welcome to join if you believe you're a senior.
Yeah.
There's no,
50 and over, or?
technically it's a senior program, but technically there is no age. That's why I said if you believe you're a senior, welcome. Right. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say also, wanted to remind the city of Lawndale residents that we have the Field of Honor coming up in November. And so currently you can purchase a flag to remember someone here, and it is an absolutely beautiful event to see all those flags out in our parkway here. And those flags are at $25, and you can write something up about your loved one that you're honoring out there during that celebration. That was it. Please come up to City Hall and purchase a flag. Thank you.
Real nice event. You can also purchase a flag for someone else, your loved one or someone that may not have the means to do so, but want to honor one of their loved ones. That is also fitting. With that, we do have a closed session. I thought we were out of here. In my haste, I forgot the closed session that we're going to have, a conference with labor negotiators. Let's hear from our city attorney on the provisions we would go under closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Government Code Section 54957.6 authorizes this closed session conference with the labor negotiator. Thank you.
Okay, we will go into closed session. Thank you. We have returned from closed session. I'm going to ask the city attorney to give the report of the closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council was briefed on the labor negotiation item. No reportable action was taken this evening.
Okay. Thank you for that. And okay, it's time to adjourn. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Lawndale City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, November 7th. That's a special day, November 7th. You guys know what they are? Oh, got a winner, yeah. There's not really no special than any other day, just except to me. But it's November 7th. Yeah, now I get the senior lunch now. You're right, I do qualify for senior lunch. Right. Okay, so our next regular scheduled meeting of Lawndale City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. Monday, November 7th in these here council chambers. It is now 8:29, and this meeting is adjourned.